When you put me inside Madison Square Garden, hand me a microphone, and surround me with NBA legends, something interesting happens. I don't feel small. I don't feel out of place. I feel like I belong there. That might surprise some people, but it shouldn't. Basketball has always been basketball to me, whether it's Iowa, Indiana, or Madison Square Garden, and the court is still 94 feet long. The rim is still 10 feet high. The only thing that changes is the stage. And V learned that if you respect the stage, it usually respects you back. That night at MSG wasn't just about a friendly game or a television appearance. It was about stepping into a space that historically hasn't included players like me in that way. It was about bridging conversations that used to feel separate, NBA talk over here, WNBA talk over there. But when I walked onto that NBC set, it didn't feel like two different worlds. It felt like one basketball community. When Jamal Crawford and I started that playful NBC game, their twist on horse, I could feel the energy immediately. It wasn't hostile. It wasn't tacit, tense. It was competitive in the best way. Someone who spent over a decade breaking down defenders, winning 6 Man of the Year awards, creating magic with the ball, and I knew millions of people were watching. One awkward moment, one embarrassing miss, and that clip lives online forever. The reality of today, game, but pressure has never scared me. If anything, it sharpens me. So when he started confidently calling out shots, smiling like he was about to teach me something on national television, I just smiled back. Because V, lived at the logo for years. That, not a trick shot for me. That C part of my game, I stepped into my range, what some people now casually call Caitlin range, and let it fly the same way I always do. No hesitation, no overthinking, same mechanics, same confidence. And when the ball drops clean, a moment, you can feel the rim shift. Not because you proved something dramatic, but because you reminded people that this isn't new for you. The logo isn't a highlight, it's P's preparation. The banter with Jamal made it even better. There was laughter, there was trash talk, there was that mutual respect that exists when two players recognize each other. And skill, I wasn't trying to outshine anyone. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I was just being myself, competitive, comfortable, and unafraid of the moment. When I realized something important, the gap people talk about between the NBA and WNBA, a lot of it is perception. On that set, there was no separation. There was basketball IQ, there was shooting, there was personality, there was entertainment. And if you truly understand the game, you don't see labels first. You see talent. Madison Square Garden has history that can overwhelm people. Legends have played there. Championships have been chased there. The lights are different. The noise feels heavier. But instead of feeling intimidated, I felt energized. When I talked about Knicks fans being passionate, I meant it. I love environments where people care deeply about the game. Passion raises the level of competition. Sitting next to Hall of Fame players and breaking down plays didn't feel like a stretch for me. I study the game constantly. I watch how players create space. I watch how tempo changes momentum. I watch how great players manipulate defenders. So when questions came, I wasn't searching for safe answers. I was speaking honestly about what I see and what I am still learning. And that the part people sometimes misunderstand. Confidence doesn't mean you think you know everything. It means you comfortable admitting what you working on. And when I mentioned studying Luka, how he controls defenders without being the fastest or most athletic, that wasn't name dropping. That was basketball appreciation. I admire how he uses angles, how he absorbs contact, how he plays at his own speed. Because the truth. The WNBA is physical. It forces you to grow. And learning how to use space instead of running from contact is something I am actively working on. That not weakness. That evolution. That MSG night wasn't about proving I could hang with NBA players. It was about showing that I understand basketball beyond one league. It was about demonstrating that the future of the game doesn't have to be separated by categories. If you can shoot from 30 feet, if you can read a defense, if you can command a stage, it translates. And what I felt most that night wasn't to pressure. It was possibility that women basketball conversations can sit comfortably on the same table as NBA discussions, a possibility that young girls watching don't, and see limits and where they belong. Possibility that the growth we re-experiencing isn't temporary. It's a transformation. The moment didn't feel like a debut. It felt like a preview. As much as that night at Madison Square Garden felt electric, it also reminded me of something bigger, that E happening right now in our sport. The spotlight is brighter than an E has ever been. Arenas are fuller, conversations are louder, expectations are higher, and with growth comes tension. That S, natural. Any league, that S, expanding, negotiating, evolving, it S, gonna feel some pressure. Vel said this before, and I truly believe it. This isn't just a big moment for the WNBA, S, a big moment for women, S sports overall. Expansion teams are being added, television deals are changing, corporate partners are investing more seriously, young players are entering the league more prepared than ever. The product on the floor is better, the energy is different. But when growth happens quickly, everyone has to decide how they gonna respond to it. Some people see growth and think, how do we protect what we built? Others see growth and think, how do we push this even further? We always lean toward the second mindset, not because I think the past doesn't matter. It absolutely does. The players who came before me laid the foundation that allows me to step into Madison Square Garden with confidence. That deserves respect. But I also believe progress requires adaptation. When I talk about wanting the league to succeed, I mean long-term success, not just bigger salaries, not just more headlines. I mean sustainability. I mean making sure the momentum we built rebuilding doesn't stall, because the worst thing that could happen right now isn't disagreement. It's a S division that slows down progress. The CBA conversations are important. They recomplicated. They affect players, owners, future rookies, expansion teams, media deals, everything. Not naive about that. I know players deserve fair compensation. I know the business side of sports can be difficult, but I also understand the negotiation isn't about ultimatums. It's about finding balance. From my perspective, the goal should always be keep playing, keep growing, keep the doors open, because the momentum we re-experiencing isn't automatic. It's earned every night on the floor. What I learned quickly is that visibility changes everything. When more people watch, more sponsors invest. When more sponsors invest, more revenue is generated. When more revenue is generated, players benefit. Growth feeds growth, but that cycle only works if the league continues moving forward. I don't see myself as someone trying to compete against my own league. I see myself as someone trying to elevate it. If being on NBC brings new fans into the WNBA, that's good for everyone. If NBA fans tune in because they re-curious and then they stay because they respect the level of play, that good for everyone. The game doesn't get smaller. When more people join the conversation, it gets bigger. And that's something I feel strongly about. When I sat on that broadcast set and broke down plays, I wasn't thinking about separation. I wasn't thinking about comparison. I was thinking about basketball. When LeBron pulled from the logo and the commentators joked that I'd take care of that shot, that wasn't controversy. That was connection. That was acknowledgement. That range, creativity, and confidence don't belong to one league. They belong to the game itself. The more we embrace that, the stronger this sport becomes. There always going to be noise around change. There are always going to be opinions about how things should be handled. But at the end of the day, what matters most is the product on the floor and the opportunity to keep showing it to the world. I want to play. I want our team to compete. I want the league to thrive. I want young players coming in to have more opportunities than I had. I want expansion cities to feel the excitement we rebuilding. That what this moment should be about, not fear, not division, opportunity. And when I walked out of Madison Square Garden that night, I didn't feel like I had crossed over into a different world. I felt like I had stepped into the future of basketball. What fascinates me about him isn't just the step back or the highlight passes. It as how he absorbs contact instead of avoiding it, how he keeps defenders on his hip, how he uses space as leverage instead of escape. That is something I had to learn quickly in this league. In college, I could create separation through movement and rhythm. In the WNBA, defenders don't give you that luxury. They lean, they bump, They test you possession after possession. When I said I sometimes run away from contact instead of embracing it, that wasn't self-criticism, that was awareness. Growth at this level isn't about pretending you mastered everything. It's time about identifying the areas that will elevate you from great to elite, and sitting there explaining it on national television. I could see the shift happening in real time. NBA legends weren't nodding because it sounded bold. They were nodding because it sounded accurate. Basketball language is universal. When you speak it fluently, people who know the game recognize it immediately. You know, what that MSG night represented to me, not a crossover moment, not a viral clip. It was validation that the way I see the game belongs in any room there. A difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence comes from preparation, from watching hours of film, from working on shots people think are reckless, but you have practiced thousands of times. When I pull up from 30 feet, it S, not impulse, it S, repetition, it S, understanding timing and momentum, it S, knowing how a defense reacts when they have to guard that far out. And that why I felt comfortable on that stage. Because basketball isn't about league labels, it isn't about reads, it isn't about adjustments, it isn't about seeing one step ahead. The media conversation around me has changed a lot over the past couple of years. Early on, it was about whether my game would translate. And then it became about viewership, attendance, numbers. Now it is about influence, about what my presence means for the league. I don't talk control narratives, but I do control how I show up. If I can sit next to Hall of Fame players and talk through a defensive coverage without hesitation, that S, not an accident. That S years of loving the game deeply enough to study it beyond my own performance. I've never limited my basketball education to one league. I watch everything. I learn from everyone. Because that is how you evolve. The interesting thing about being in that position is realizing how much the walls between leagues are psychological. They're this old idea that the NBA conversation lives here and the WNBA conversation lives there. But when fans watch someone who understands the game at a high level, those walls fade. And that this powerful it means young players do not have to shrink their ambitions based on categories. It means broadcasters do not have to frame women and basketball as a niche topic. It means the game can finally breathe as one ecosystem. That doesn't mean there won't be challenges. It doesn't mean negotiations won, but be complicated. It doesn't mean everyone will agree on every direction forward, but it does mean the ceiling is higher than it has ever been. When people ask if I feel pressure stepping into NBA spaces, I honestly don't. I feel responsibility not to dominate the room, but to represent the game well. To show that the level we're playing at deserves respect without needing comparison to validate it. And if that means occasionally pulling from the logo and reminding people that range is range, no matter where you play, I am okay with that. Because the future of basketball isn't a teen about division. It's about expansion. Now let us talk about the part nobody really wants to talk about openly. Growth changes everything. When I entered the league, the energy was already shifting. Arenas were fuller. Media attention was louder. Every game felt bigger than just a game. And when momentum like that hits a league, it exposes cracks that were already there. Negotiations, contracts, revenue, fairness, opportunity. These conversations are important. They matter. Every player deserves to feel valued and respected. I believe that deeply. But I also understand something else. Timing matters just as much as demands. When a league is finally accelerating, you don't slam on the brakes. You steer carefully. From my perspective, the biggest opportunity right now is at about one season. It's S about sustainability. It's S about making sure that 5 years from now and 10 years from now, this league isn't just surviving, it's thriving. They're a delicate balance between pushing for progress and protecting momentum. If games stop, fans drift. If uncertainty drags on, sponsors hesitate. If narratives turn negative, growth stalls. That's not fear, that's reality in professional sports. I've always believed that the strongest position comes from unity, not from ultimatums, not from public frustration, from strategy. When I speak about being confident that a deal will get done, that isn't blind optimism. That understanding that everyone involved ultimately benefits from a healthy league, owners, players, coaches, media fans. No one wins if the product disappears. And here, something I learned quickly, visibility changes leverage. The more people care about the league, the stronger every player and negotiating position becomes. That's so just economics. You grow the pie first, then you divide it more powerfully. Right now, women basketball is experiencing something historic. Expansion teams, sellout arenas, national broadcasts, young girls filling camps in record numbers. This moment is fragile and powerful at the same time. It has to be handled with precision. For me personally, I focus on what I can control: my preparation, my body, my mindset, my voice when I choose to use it. I'm not here to fight headlines. I am here to compete at the highest level possible, but I am also not naive. I know that when one player becomes a lightning rod for attention, everything around her gets amplified. Every comment, every decision, every silence. That C part of the territory, what I refuse to do is let division define this era. Because here, S, the truth, this league doesn't grow because of one player. It grows because of a collective standard rising together. Alaya, Lexi, Sophie, Kelsey, so many incredible competitors pushing the level higher every year. The conversation shouldn't be about tearing each other down. It should be about building something so undeniable that nobody questions its legitimacy. And when I sat at Madison Square Garden that night, it felt like a glimpse of what that future could look like. Seamless, integrated basketball being basketball. No disclaimers, no qualifiers. Just the game. If 2024 was about introduction and 2025 was about adversity, then 2026 has to be about execution. Healthy roster, clear direction, focus energy. The Indiana Fever aren't just trying to compete. We trying to establish identity. Tough, skilled, unpredictable, connected. That doesn't paint through noise. And it happens through reps, through uncomfortable practices, through film sessions that expose weaknesses, through conversations that aren't always easy, but are necessary. I don't see the future as something that just arrives. I see it as something you prepare for daily, and I think fans feel that too. They don't just want highlights. They want trajectory. They want to believe they re-watching something historic unfold in real time. That belief is powerful. Why Madison Square Garden felt electric. Why Logo 3s spark conversation. Why an Instagram caption can trend for days. Because people sense movement, and movement is momentum. The key now is protecting it. There's something people don't talk about when momentum shifts in your favor, the silence that comes after the noise, when the cameras turn off, when the arena empties, when the Instagram post is done trending, that when it gets real. In 2024, everything felt like acceleration. Records, headlines, packed arenas. Every night felt historic. It was overwhelming in the best way possible. You barely have time to process one milestone before the next one hits. Then 2025 slowed me down. Injuries do that. They don't just stop your body. They stop your rhythm. They force you to sit still while the world keeps moving. And when you reused to constant forward motion, stillness feels uncomfortable. You start thinking, did I push too hard? Did I listen to my body enough? Did I let expectations dictate my pace? When you re-healthy, doubt doesn't get much space. When you re-sidelined, it has room to echo. I watched games in street clothes. I watched teammates grind through adversity. I watched conversations about the league swirl around negotiations and uncertainty. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't controlling anything. That's humbling. It teaches you that star power doesn't matter if you can't step on the floor. Attention doesn't matter if your knee isn't ready. Fame doesn't rebound missed shots. What matters is discipline. Rehab became my arena. Early mornings, controlled movements, strength sessions that nobody sees, conditioning that doesn't trend online, that the part of the journey that never goes viral. And it changed me because success is loud, but growth is quiet. When people say you were everywhere, I smile because they don't see the hours where I was nowhere, just in a training room, rebuilding confidence, by a representative, There also a mental adjustment that comes with sudden visibility In college, I was the star, but it was still campus energy. In the WNBA, it became national conversation. Then it became cultural conversation. When your Instagram caption becomes analyzed for hidden meaning, you realize you no longer just playing basketball. You re-navigating perception that can either suffocate you or sharpen you. I chose sharpen. I don't control how people interpret growth. I don't control how negotiations get framed. I don't control narratives about league politics, but I do control how I respond. And here, what I know for sure, adversity clarifies purpose. When 2026 arrives, it won't just be another season. It will be a statement, not a loud one, not confrontational, just undeniable. I don't need to argue about value. Performance speaks. I don't need to debate about momentum. Arenas speak. I don't need to respond to every headline. Consistency speaks. That the evolution in 2024, I was proving I belonged. In 2025, I was learning patience. In 2026, I intend to elevate. There a difference between hype and foundation. Hype spikes fast and fades. Foundation builds slow and sustains. This next chapter isn't about viral clips at Madison Square Garden. It's about durability, chemistry, leadership that doesn't require a microphone. When I look at our roster, Arlia, Kelsey, Lexi, Sophie, I see a group that been through something together. Injuries, test, trust, close losses, test, belief, uncertainty, test, unity. We didn't to break. That matters because the strongest teams aren't tie-knit built during highlight runs. They rebuilt during uncomfortable seasons. And I think that as what people are underestimating about us, they see the logo threes, they see the NBC segments, they see the Instagram caption. They don't see the edge that adversity creates. They're a different kind of hunger that comes from sitting out and watching your team struggle without you. It's not ego-driven. It's responsibility-driven. You want to contribute, you want to lift, you want to stabilize the chaos. When I say I welcome 2026 with open arms, that not just relief, that readiness, the body is stronger, the mind is clearer, the perspective is wider. I understand the weight now. I understand how fragile momentum can be, and I understand how powerful alignment can be. The future of this league doesn't need division, it needs excellence. If we handle this next phase correctly, if negotiations land wisely, if teams commit strategically, if players lean into growth instead of resistance, basketball doesn't just sustain momentum, it explodes. And I want to be part of that explosion in the right way, not as noise, as standard. There's something different about preparing for a season when you've already tasted both extremes, the roar and the silence. When I step back on the court in 2026, it won't just be about proving I can hit shots from the logo. It won't be about silencing critics or validating hype. It will be about ownership of my game, ownership of my preparation, ownership of the direction this next chapter takes. Because here, the truths no one talks about. Momentum isn't permanent. You earn it, you protect it, you rebuild it when it cracks. Team USA in March is more than just an appearance for me. It's a recalibration. Playing alongside the best players in the world forces you to elevate. It strips away excuses. It reminds you what elite truly looks like. There's nowhere to hide in that environment. Every pass is sharp, every closeout is fast, every possession matters, and that's exactly where I want to be. When I lace up for that stage, it won't be about highlight clips. It will be about rhythm, timing, feeling like myself again in live action. Because practice is one thing, rehab is another, but nothing replaces game speed. You can lift all off season, you can study film until 2 a.m., you can visualize perfect possessions, but until you feel the defender shoulder, until you hear the crowd shift in anticipation, until you see the help defense rotate late and you exploit it instinctively, you still waiting. I don't want to wait anymore. The hunger is different now. In 2024, I was hungry to arrive. In 2026, I am hungry to sustain. There has a difference. Arriving is explosive, sustaining is disciplined, and sustaining is what separates moments from careers. I will study what happens to players who peak early and fade. I will watch the arc of legends who adjusted their game every year to stay ahead. The league evolves, defenses adjust, scouting reports get thicker. You can be static. You have to expand. That's why this offseason isn't about adding one move. It's about expanding range in every sense. Physically, mentally, strategically. Strength matters more than ever. The league is physical. It tests your core, your balance, your ability to absorb contact and still finish. Film study matters more than ever. Understanding defensive schemes before they trap you. Anticipating rotations before they collapse. Leadership matters more than ever, because when you carry visibility, you also carry emotional temperature for your team. If I walk into 2026 tense, the team feels it. If I walk in calm and assertive, that spreads too. And that growth people don't always see. Confidence isn't loud, it's controlled. When I walk into Gamebridge Fieldhouse next season, the energy will be electric. It always is. But this time, just feel the excitement. I'll feel responsibility because the expectations are higher now. Fans aren't hoping anymore. They re-expecting wins, playoff consistency, dominance, and honestly, that's how it should be. Pressure means people believe something is possible, but here, the key difference, pressure doesn't set control me, preparation does. The logo threes, those aren't risk. They repetition. The no-look passes, that top film and trust. The late game calm. That is hours of scenarios played out in my head long before tip-off. When I look at our roster heading into 2026, I don't see uncertainty. I see opportunity. Oh yeah. S presence in the paint stabilizes everything. Kelsey. S scoring gravity stretches defenses. Lexi. S defensive energy shifts momentum. Sophie. S edge brings toughness. That T not a random collection of players. That CSR2 add smart front office decisions, add health, add chemistry built through adversity, and you have something dangerous. People think adversity weakens teams. Sometimes it forges them. When you fight through injuries, through close losses, through noise, you either fracture or you harden. We hardened. Now imagine that edge paired with full health and clarity. That what 2026 feels like to me, not revenge. Elevation. There no need to argue about the league. SES direction. The direction will show itself in results. There no need to debate star power. That will reveal itself in ratings, attendance, and sustained excellence. What matters now is execution, game by game, quarter by quarter, possession by possession. If 2024 was ignition and 2025 was interruption, then 2026 becomes construction, building something durable. And here am the part I am most excited about. Growth in public is uncomfortable. Every mistake is amplified. Every slump is dissected. Every quote is analyzed. But growth in public also accelerates maturity. You either shrink under scrutiny or you expand. I chose expand. And when I step back onto the national stage, whether it NBC broadcasts, USA games, or packed WNBA arenas, it won't feel overwhelming anymore. It will feel aligned with who I become, aligned with what this team is building, aligned with the direction women basketball is heading. Because here, as the bigger picture, this moment isn't just about me. It's about transition. Women basketball is crossing a threshold. Expansion teams, media deals, record attendance, cultural attention. Moments like that require players who understand both performance and platform. And I am ready for both. Not because everything went perfectly, but because it didn't. Adversity teaches you how to stabilize momentum instead of chasing it. And 2026 isn't about chasing anything. It's about anchoring it. When people look back at 2025, they might call it a setback. I'll call it refinement, because here something I realized. Success is easy to celebrate, but struggle is what shapes you. the Madison Square Garden moment. That was exciting. The NBC debut, that was validating. The viral clips, those were fun. But sitting in a rehab room when nobody watching, that C character walking into a season knowing expectations doubled, that maturity, choosing optimism when conversations around the league feel tense, that S leadership, and leadership isn't about talking the loudest, it is about stabilizing the room. I don't need to prove I belong on big stages anymore. That's already been done. Now it is about sustainability. Can I stay healthy? Can I elevate my teammates? Can I turn attention into championships instead of headlines? That the shift, because popularity fades, performance compounds. And if we learned anything from studying the greats, whether it as Luka, Steph, LeBron, as that evolution is intentional. They didn't just rely on talent, they added layers every year. Strength, vision, pace control, mental resilience, that am building now. Not just a season, a foundation. When 2026 tips off, it won't just be another opening night. It will be the continuation of something bigger. The league is expanding, the audience is growing. Young girls are picking up basketballs because they see themselves reflected on national stages. That matters more than any debate. And here, the truth that gets lost in noise, this isn't about division, it's about direction. The WNBA isn't fragile. It is evolving. Negotiations will resolve, expansion will continue, talent will rise. But what determines how far this goes is mindset. If we lean into growth instead of guarding territory, if we embrace new fans instead of questioning them, if we focus on excellence instead of comparison, then the ceiling disappears. I don't see 2026 as redemption. Redemption implies something was broken. I see it as acceleration of chemistry, acceleration of maturity, acceleration of belief, because belief is powerful. When fans show up before warm-ups just to watch you shoot from the logo, that S belief. When teammates publicly rally behind you after a difficult season, that TES belief. When executives invest in expansion because they see the momentum, that as belief. And belief, when paired with preparation, becomes unstoppable. I am not interested in being a moment. I am interested in being a movement where women basketball isn't compared, it's respected, where arenas aren't surprised by sellouts. They expect them. Where young players don't at question whether they can dream big. They assume they can. That talls the vision, and it starts with performance, not talk, performance. So when you see me back on that court in 2026, stronger, calmer, sharper, understand something, it's not just about logo threes anymore. It's about control of pace, control of narrative, control of legacy, because the most dangerous version of a player is the one chasing validation. The one who understands her value. Madison Square Garden was magic, but it was just a glimpse. The real story is still being written. And if you think 2024 was historic, if you think 2025 was intense, then get ready, because 2026 won to be about proving people wrong. It'll be about proving consistency, right? The lights will be bright, the expectations will be higher, and this time I won to just meet the moment. I'll define it.